Hey, welcome to GSM Squads. I'm so excited that you were here. Wherever you're at, whether it's in Durango or Bayfield, I want you to know that you are loved and that the leaders around you, that they care about you, okay? That's why we do this. We want you to come to know Jesus, and we want you to have true community. We want you to just get to know those in your squad a little bit better. So today, we are in the final week of our Oikos series. Now, the word Oikos, it means your extended household. So whenever you think about that, it is the 8 to 15 people that you do life with on a consistent basis. Maybe it's family or friends, teammates, coworkers, maybe a boss. There's a lot of different people that could be in your Oikos. And so what I want you to be doing is to be thinking about who it is that is in your Oikos. Now we're going to look at the story of a demon-possessed man in Mark chapter 5. But before we get there, I want to talk about a time when I went somewhere kind of sketchy. Now, I had been invited to come serve in a ministry in the inner city of Oklahoma City. Now, this area, it was kind of sketchy. It was one of those places where whenever you got off the highway, you're going to press the lock button on your vehicle. You don't want to be at a stop sign or whatever, and somebody tried to get into your vehicle. So I would press the lock, and I would drive on to the school and the church that we would be serving at, and it was awesome. Like once I got there, there were some hard issues. There were some things that were scary sometimes, and even the guys that I worked with that kind of worked there all the time, they encountered some scary stuff. But the thing was that God had called me, and he had called the people that worked there to serve there on a consistent basis. He had told us to go there. Now, what I want us to look at is in Mark chapter 5, when Jesus goes to the other side of the sea. Now, this other side is kind of like that. It's one of those places where the people on this side are like, it's too scary to go over there. Like, why would you have us go over there? Like, there are demons over there. There are Gentiles over. Why would we go over there? And so they're like, I don't know about this. But Jesus, being Jesus, he says, let's go to the other side. Now, it's not an area that typically Jewish people would go because it was mostly Gentile. There were pagans over there. It was people of a different ethnicity than them. But Jesus wanted to go over there. And as we learn from the scriptures, it's that the Jewish people at the time thought that only the Jewish people belonged to God, and Jesus was wrecking their worlds and was showing them something different. So Jesus says, let's go to the other side. So let's pick up in Mark chapter 5, starting in verse 1. They came to the other side of the sea, to the region of Gerasenes. As soon as he got out of the boat, a man with an unclean spirit came out of the tombs and met him. He lived in the tombs, and no one was able to restrain him anymore, not even with a chain, because he often had been bound with shackles and chains, but had torn the chains apart and smashed the shackles. No one was strong enough to subdue him night and day among the tombs. And on the mountains, he was always crying out and cutting himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and knelt down before Jesus. And he cried out with a loud voice, "What do you have to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you before God, do not torment me." For he had told him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit. What is your name?" He asked. "My name is Legion," the man answered, "and we are many." And he begged him earnestly not to send him out of the region. So what I want us to see here first is that this man was banished to their version of a cemetery. He lived among the tombs because the people in town didn't want to deal with him. They couldn't. They had tried to arrest him, put him in jail. Nothing worked to subdue this man because he was possessed by a legion of demons. And I can only imagine the disciples in this moment as Jesus said, let's go to the other side. And the disciples were like, are you serious? Do we really have to go over there? And as soon as Jesus got out of the boat, like it doesn't even say that the disciples have left the boat yet, but as soon as Jesus got out of the boat, this demon-possessed man is running towards him. And these disciples are like, this is exactly why we didn't want to come over here, Jesus. Why in the world would you have us come to the other side? But here's what I want you to see. This demon-possessed man recognized who Jesus was. This demon-possessed man knew that Jesus was the Son of the Most High God. And this demon-possessed man, this legion, had a request because he knew what Jesus was capable of. This demon-possessed man said, please do not send the demons out of the country. Let us stay here. That's where we pick up. Mark 5, going back to verse 11. A large herd of pigs was there feeding on the hillside, and the demons begged him, send us to the pigs so that we may enter them. So he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out of the man and entered the pigs. And the herd of about 2,000 pigs rushed down the steep bank and into the sea, and they drowned there. Like, that's actually in the Bible. The demons wanted to go to the pigs, and Jesus knew something. He knew that these pigs are just going to go kill themselves now. And so he sends them into the pigs, and the pigs immediately go into the sea and they drown. And so essentially the demons are now done with. There is nothing that the demons can do now because they have been killed with the pigs. Now what I want us to see now is that there's a group of herdsmen. These herdsmen were caring for these pigs, and they just saw what Jesus did. They just saw that Jesus sent a bunch of demons into these pigs. Now, if you read closely, it wasn't that Jesus sent them into the pigs. He allowed the demons to do that. He didn't cast them into the pigs. He allowed them to do that. So let's pick up in verse 14. The men who tended them ran off and reported it in the town and the countryside, and the people went to see what had happened. They came to Jesus and saw the man who had been demon-possessed sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it described to them what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told about the pigs. Then they began to beg him to leave their region. So the herdsmen went and told everyone in town, hey, we just saw what happened. We just saw this guy send a bunch of demons into these pigs, and what in the world is going on? They were scared. They did not notice that the demon-possessed man was now right in his mind until they came back. So they came back and noticed this, and they're like, what is happening? And so they asked Jesus to leave because they didn't know what Jesus would do next. They were kind of scared in that moment, and they asked him to leave the region. So picking up in verse 18, as he was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged him earnestly that he might remain with him. And Jesus did not let him, but told him, go home to your own people, to your Oikos, and report to them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. Verse 20, so he went out and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for them, and they were all amazed. Now, this true story from Scripture can be a template for our own lives. Look, Jesus shows up when we are involved in our sin, when we are in just shambles, and when people are trying to help us out, they're trying to keep us accountable, and Jesus shows up in our mess, in our sin, and in our disobedience. And we are in need of hope, and he shows up in the midst of that. And he provides healing, he provides forgiveness, and then he sends us to tell those in our extended household. He sends us to tell our Oikos. He sends us to tell others how much mercy and forgiveness that he has given to us, and this great mercy that we have received. Now, let's remember that Jesus, when he came, his objective on earth, and we covered this the last 2 weeks, his objective was to seek and to save the lost. And another way to say it is to give hope to those that are hopeless. And so that is his objective, and it tells us that in Luke 19:10. And right here we see that the strategy and tactics that he wants to use to accomplish his objective is those like you and me, those of us that have a personal relationship with Jesus. He wants to use us as the strategy and tactics to take his hope to our own worlds, to our own oikos. And so we can experience this grace and mercy and hope, but the thing is that we can't contain it. It is so great in our lives that we can't contain it, and we have been so impacted by him that we have to go and tell others. He tells us to go and tell others, to go and tell our oikos. So what I want us to remember and what I want us to see is that your faith has the opportunity to bring those in your oikos closer to Jesus.